What if I told you that I started traveling around the world long before I ever boarded an airplane? Long before I even thought of applying for a passport. Long before airport security as we know it was a thing. Long before I started collecting stamps on my passport. I traveled. Not with luggage, not with plane tickets, but through letters. Growing up in Dominica, I had pen pals. I had over 100 pen pals from about 100 different countries from around the world. And those pen pals, through their letters, taught me quite a bit. They taught me about where they lived, what they ate, how they celebrated, important milestones, important events, how they dressed. And each time I got a letter, there was something that really helped me to understand a little bit better what they did. There was either postcard, currency. There were these stories. There were these stories about their everyday life. There were these descriptions about what they did. And every time I got a letter, I felt like I was being transported into a different world, an entirely different world. And so these letters answered questions for me. Yes, they did. But they also generated 10 more questions, right? Each letter generated 10 more questions. How do people live? What makes them so unique? How do they do things different? The same things that I do, how do they do them differently in the places that they live? Perhaps the most important question that was generated during those times for me was, what can we learn from each other? What can they teach me, and what can I teach them? And so, looking back, I think that those letters, those many letters, were my first passport to the world. My name is Dr. Leslie Tong, and I welcome you to Life Unpacked, the Culture Quest. This channel was born from a lifelong curiosity about people, not just places, but people. I've always wanted to understand how culture shapes the way we think, the way we live, solve problems, and even how we dream. I've always been curious about that. And over the past 10 years, that curiosity has taken me around the world. I have had the privilege of visiting countries in Africa, Asia, South America, Europe, and the Middle East. But here's what I've learned. The most valuable souvenir you can bring home isn't something that you buy. Nope. It isn't something that you buy. It is a new perspective. And that's what this channel is really about. Not tourism, not bucket list items, not checking off countries from a list. It is about collecting perspectives. Collecting perspectives, because every culture that we encounter, every culture that I have encountered, taught me something and will teach you something. And every person that you meet has a story that is worth hearing. So now, if you're expecting to spend time with me, where I tell you about where to stay, what to eat, don't worry. We'll talk about some of those things for sure. We will talk about some of those things. We'll talk about food for sure. We'll talk about food. But this channel is a little different. It's a little different because I believe travel is one of the most powerful educational tools in the world. Travel is one of the most educational tools in the world. some of the most important lessons that you'll ever learn will be learned by traveling, not through textbook, but through that immersion in a particular culture. Some of what you will learn will come from the conversations that you have with people, with strangers, with your peers while traveling. Some of that learning will come from getting lost, trying foods that you can't pronounce, from making mistakes and trying to correct them, from being willing to step into that space of discomfort, that space of uncertainty, that space that is so unfamiliar to you. That is where the learning happens. That is where growth lives. That is where true growth lives. And so, think about creativity. That is also where creativity lives. And that is where transformation lives. A number of years ago, that particular belief led me to create a program called Passport to the World. That idea was simple. It was based on a very simple idea that if travel could transform you, perhaps it could transform others. And so we created a learning experience, a travel learning experience that was built around 4 pillars: education, service, culture, and recreation. And since 2015, more than 500 persons have traveled the world with me, students, faculty, staff, community members, and the like. And every single trip has taught us lessons, has taught us something that we had not known before, something not just about the world, but about ourselves. And so, in that space, I have watched shy students become more confident in their leadership abilities, in their growth. I have seen people conquer fairs, including me. I have conquered a few of my fairs. I have seen cultures. I've watched the way in which culture challenged the assumptions that persons had. And I've watched travel just transform lives overall. That is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And this brings me to Thailand. Thailand was our latest trip program. And when Thailand was identified for our latest Passport to the World experience, we chose the theme around sustainability and transformation. And this theme was more, well, at first glance, it may look like just 2 words that are representing different ideas. But Thailand helped us to understand how closely connected those 2 words are, transformation and sustainability. You see, Thailand is a country that constantly balances old and new. That's what I think. That's what I've learned. There's that balance that happens all of the time. So if we see ancient temples standing right alongside modern technology, skyscrapers and the like. You see traditions that are old, ancient, still thriving against or amongst the changing landscape in terms of people's daily lives. So you see the tuk-tuk riding or driving right alongside the fast-speeding trains. You see practices that persons have had for centuries, have practiced for centuries, medicinal practices, cooking practices, and all of those things coexisting alongside innovation and technology. I'm trying not to go into some of what I've seen with right now, but yes, that's the juxtaposition that Thailand offered. And so everything that we saw provided evidence that there is a society that is trying their best to preserve what matters while still adapting to the future. And that fascinated me a great deal. That was absolutely very fascinating. And thinking about it, isn't this a challenge that we all face? I would say so, yeah, that's a challenge that we all face. How do we honor our past while preparing for the future? How do we grow without losing ourselves? How do we change while remaining true to who we are? Those are questions that Thailand offers sort of an answer, or many answers, depending on your perspective. Thailand became our classroom for exploring those questions. In the next coming episodes, I'll take you with me on our journey through Thailand in greater detail for sure. In this, if this is your if this is your first time here with me, thank you so much for joining. I hope that this channel inspires you to remain curious and to ask questions, to embrace differences, and to see the world as a classroom. Before you go, I have two questions for you. First one, what country has taught you the most? And the second, if you could visit a country tomorrow, where would you go? If you could visit a country tomorrow, where would you go? Leave your answers in the comment box. And don't forget to subscribe and join me on this journey, because the world is waiting and our culture quest is just getting started. I'm Dr. Leslie Tong. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.